Okay, right behind us are some oats that we put in. What we do after the broccoli, let's see, this is behind me right now is broccoli 4 and 5. Behind the hill, you can't see it, is broccoli 1 and 2. As soon as we're done cutting a crop, we go in and mow it off. The reason we mow it off is actually threefold. The first reason is we want to get rid of that so pests don't have a place to lay eggs in and breed, and I'm certainly not going to spray a field that doesn't have a crop in it. The second one is once the crop is done, the plants really start rotting down, and I don't want to be generating a disease problem. And then the third one, of course, is so that we can get back on that field and get it into a cover crop. So these oat fields behind us, they're going to stay like this until next spring. So there's going to be cover on the field over the winter to keep the soil from moving. The other thing we've basically done, one of my soils consultants always says what you need to do in the fall is you've got to feed your earthworms and put a roof over their head. So the feeding part comes in, we take that crop that was there and we chop it up fresh and we immediately mix it into the soil. Okay, that is their food. Then we put the roof over their head, which is, in this case, is the oats. And what that will do is that will keep the frost from, not necessarily keep the frost from going down so far, but you won't get those, the frost won't penetrate into the ground as quickly. And so it is going to help to protect the earthworms, because what happens when the soil freezes, they go down below the soil, in the soil below the frost line. And then the other thing is these crops are capturing any of the nutrients left over in the field, tying it up into organic matter, which is then going to be broken down and feed the crop next year. Actually, what will happen on the fields behind us, we'll have a series of different pasture crops we're going to plant in here. This will be chicken pasture next year, and then after that we'll rotate back into vegetable crops again. The reason these fields are all at an angle like this is because that's what the field told us to do. It's sloping. You can see how it slopes from the top down. Prior to this, all the rows were going straight back, from me straight back to the trees behind us. So you can see there's a lot of potential for soil loss, soil erosion in that case. What we have is we have strips that are 66 feet wide. That gives me 10 or 11 beds in a field. Then we have a buffer strip here that we also use to drive on to harvest. And that way, if we do have any soil movement, it's going to be caught by these strips. From there, everything goes into, you can see some waterways. There's one that starts up by this white barrel, goes down past that grain drill, goes down, and then you can see there, and it heads down to the creek. It was a really interesting story. We had a SCS person out here when we first did this, when we first seeded down that waterway to see if there was any cost sharing available in it. And he about had a fit that we put that waterway in there. After all, how did you know where that waterway is going to go? And I says, well, basically I started at the bottom of the hill and I walked up the washout and put flags in it, so I knew pretty well where it was going to go. At that time, it was no-till corn in here, so, you know, the farmer that was renting at the time thought, well, I can just go right straight through with no-till corn. It's not going to wash, but that is a myth.